This is going to be our first episode of Figuring Things Out with Coach D. We're doing something that I like to do. It's mainly for our clients here at AXEARE. There's a lot of things that we talk about on a weekly basis that I want to, make more sticky. I don't know if I'll be able to find a little splat thing, but hopefully I can, or else that'll just be goofy. But I really do. I want to make everything that I'm trying to coach my clients on to be sticky. One thing that I'm always trying to do is make sure that I'm doing what matters most for each and every single client, which means everybody's going to be individual in what they need. But that doesn't mean that there aren't some big things that I've noticed as a coach that have been brought to my attention, working with people, working with myself, helping out other coaches with questions that we all can focus on and we all can put our energy into to make sure that we're focusing on what really matters most before we dive into some of the other, I like to call it fluff, or we'll get into some terminology here in a little bit. But that's what this episode is going to be about. We're going to be diving into choosing big rocks over pebbles. There's so much information out there, especially in today's world when it comes to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Google. Like, you can really go look up anything you want to know nowadays and somewhat figure it out. But there's an issue there. People are getting overwhelmed because I think there's just too much, and it's making it hard to make any moves at all, or know if the moves you're making are even right, or for people to know how long to stay on things, or for people to know if what they're doing is actually truly what they need to be doing for their goals, their body, their lifestyle, so on and so forth. And here's one thing that I want you to start to think about anytime you feel like you're getting overwhelmed with all this stuff. The feeling you're having, it's normal. And you see, here's why I say that. What is considered normal or common today isn't gonna be the best route. And I think that's why, it's normal for us to feel overwhelmed, especially in this world today. Now, I said, what's normal or common today might not be the best route. Well, what do you mean by that, Coach Devante? I really just mean the fact that we look at the way that we live life nowadays. We drive our cars, we sit down, we're on our phones, we're here all the time typing on our computers, we're sitting down or watching screens, we're underneath lights and not outside in the sunlight as much as we should be. And that seems to be this normal or commonplace now. But doesn't need to be, and it's not, right? It's not really normal. We've just made it normal in today's society, and that's something that I'm really working on, especially with the young kids I'm coaching and people who are more my age, 25 to 35 years old, right? So it's something that we're all dealing with. And even I work with some people who are in their 40s, 50s, and they're struggling with it and realizing they're not doing as much as their parents did. Now I know there is just a generational thing to where we can look back and I'm sure our parents look at us and they're like, oh, you're not doing as hard of stuff as I did, and their parents probably look at them and say the same thing, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth, right? So that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is just the fact that the way we have developed and we live now in a society and see it as normal doesn't mean it is. So don't get overwhelmed. And here's what we can do to make sure we don't. We're going to zone in on all the big rocks, so then all the other small rocks and the pebbles feel absolutely weightless. We're talking about big rocks, we're talking about small rocks, we're talking about pebbles. What do I mean by that? Let me just explain that further before I dive into it, and then I'll give you some explanations on what those big rocks are and some things we can focus on there. There's two ways I like to explain this, and I'll use the one from NCI that they shout out to them again, that they were teaching us, and I'll use the one that kind of works for me and how I teach my clients on building unbreakable foundations, right? So two ways to think about it. Think of if you had a jar, and that jar is you. Now you can fill this jar with pebbles You can fill it with small rocks, you can fill it with big rocks. Now, if we look at the realm of fitness, health, wellness, and we look at those things within the big rocks, this is where we're going to be looking at sleep. We're going to be looking at water intake. We're going to be looking at daily movement outside of exercise. We're going to be looking at stress management, and we're going to be looking at grocery shopping there at the end. And then when we move into those small rocks, now we're going to be looking at some other things, kind of diving more into like training, nutrition, all that stuff. And then we look at the pebbles, and we're looking at vitamins and supplements and all that type of stuff, right? That's really all it is. And it's that simple. But here's the thing. I want to explain it one other way. I like to think about this of building unbreakable foundations for yourself, right? Think about building a house. Think if you are this empty space, and now you get to build this house that's gonna be the place where you get to create this life that you get to live the way that you want to live it. Now, in order to do that, what do we need? We need to build a strong ass foundation. There has to be. There has to be a strong foundation there first. So that's gonna be that same thing where we're looking at, right? Sleep, water intake. We're looking at, daily movement outside of exercise. We're looking at stress management, and we're looking at grocery shopping. There's our foundation. We've built that. We have a strong foundation. Now we can move on. Now we can move on to the framework of the home. Now we got the nutrition, the training. Now you can move on to the drywall, all the decorations, all the fun painting stuff, all the decor outside. That's gonna be like our supplementation and our vitamins and some other stuff, which we'll dive into later on in one of these videos. What can we do when we focus on those big rocks or our foundation of our house, right? Our sleep, our water intake, our daily movement outside of exercise, our stress management, and our grocery shopping. Well, I'm not gonna sit here and try to explain any more when we have a video on our Instagram that I'm gonna pop up right here on screen right now. And if you're not following us, check out the screen somewhere down here, around here somewhere for the tag. Here we go. Sleep. Try not to eat 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Try not to drink water 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. Try your best to get away and off the screens 1 hour prior to your bedtime. And if you can't, grab yourself a pair of blue blockers. Water. Get yourself a water bottle that you can carry around and easily track the amount of water you're drinking. And after that, try to hit half your body weight in ounces of water daily. Daily movement outside of exercise. So here, if you can, we want to try to track our steps with either like a smartwatch or a smartphone. If you don't have that, at least start to track down how many walks and how long of a walk you're getting in daily, and try to just increase that week by week if you're able to and there's no pain kicking up. Stress management. So this can vary for each and every single one of us. So here's the thing. Focus on your sleep, your water intake, and your daily movement, and you should start to see your stress levels go down. Boom. And like I said, if you're not, make sure you go follow us there for more short form content just like that. Now, one thing we didn't touch on that video was the last big rock I like to talk about, and that's grocery shopping. So let's just touch on that real quick. So here's the thing. I'm not gonna make this super complicated and start diving into food, because that's for another video. Really, all I wanna focus on grocery shopping is this. I know that, majority of us really don't grocery shop as much as we could. So if you don't, and you're like me or a lot of my clients when we first start this process, and you don't really grocery shop that much, well, let's get to the grocery store 1 to 3 times a week, right? The reason why I say 1 to 3 times is sometimes it's nice to get the produce, like the vegetables, the fruit and all that, and not have to buy too much of it so it gets rotten. So that's my suggestion there. Don't worry about changing eating habits right away. Just focus on, getting to the grocery store, and then start working on eating habits around that shopping. And how you can do that is the next tip, which is simply just really focusing your energy on shopping in the outer area of the store, the outer ring, right? So thinking, instead of going into those like middle aisles and stuff, you're staying on the outside. So now we're staying by like the fruits, the veggies. We're coming around, we got all the meat and stuff. Maybe we got a couple like little frozen things here or whatever along the wall, and then we got like the dairy and all that on the backside. That's like the average layout here in the US when it comes to a grocery store, at least the ones around me. That's as simple as it needs to get for this video. So if you haven't started focusing in on your big rocks over the pebbles, like supplements, vitamins, even the training and exercise, and you haven't done the stuff for the big rocks, or like the way I like to say it as well, the foundation of your dream life, home, epic center, I don't know what you even want to call it, whatever it is, whatever your brain comes up with, then I definitely suggest doing that today. Start small. Choose 1 to maybe 3 things you can, tangibly know you can do on a weekly basis and see how it's going. I like this whole video is about, let's get after these big rocks. The rest of that shit just feels weightless. All right, everybody, that is the first episode of Figuring Things Out, which Coach D talking about covering the big rocks over the pebbles. I hope you all enjoyed that. I try to make it as quick as possible. Try not to go on too many rants, try to make it sweet and short, and I'm sure I'm gonna be editing it up so it's pretty concise on the information we're getting across. But that's it for tonight. I'm gonna go hang out with the wife. I hope you all get to spend time with your loved ones, your friends, and you get to do something that you love today and do something for yourself. All right, everybody, that's Coach D, and I'm out.